crunchy the way I like it.
Is he coming?
Girl, where you at? Because I'm coming over.
So you're downtown in the district?
Oh my God.
You got a problem with 69?
Look at that face, right?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, Tony. Hi, Miss Riley.
Hello, Dwight.
Greetings to you.
The lovely and buxom.
Yeah, I'll go to another room.
Riley, calm down.
What?
She got a date after this taping.
Tiffany, what is with all this cleavage?
The girls want to do what the girls want to do.
You all do an excellent job.
Stop playing.
Are you going to watch?
I don't know how to do anything.
You should be on the PC.
Because we got company today. But I see them titties, girl.
What have you done for me lately?
I'm not mad, I'm just jealous.
Y'all got jokes.
You know Shaina will embarrass you.
Tiffany, stop leaning over like that.
Let me stop, y'all.
Bring them titties back to the screen.
Okay, team, how's it?
Titties, Steve. That's right.
So Shaina.
Of course I do. My name is Tiffany.
Oh, wow.
That's how grown folks do it.
All right.
My name is Dwight Alexander.
I'm Shaina Taylor.
I'm Tiffany Thomas.
I'm Riley Knoxx.
I'm Byron Garrett, and this is We Speak. Well, greetings all. Welcome back to the latest installment, another episode of We Speak. As we say, the shortest commute to doing this particular show since it's on the Zoom platform. How are you tonight, Tiffany? Good to see you back with us.
Great to be back.
Good indeed. Shaina, how are you doing? Your hair looks flawless.
Oh, thank you. Hola, I'm doing awesome. It's a beautiful day outside. I can't complain.
I know that's right. At least the storm has passed us. And Riley Knoxx, you're back with the natural hair, and it is flowing, flowing, flowing. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you, Byron?
I'm doing outstanding on the West Coast. And we've got a special guest with us tonight. Make sure you introduce yourself. Dwight Alexander is in the house and on the cast with us this evening. How are you, sir?
Doing real well, sir. Thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about yourself for folks that don't know you.
So, my name is Dwight. I am a SOM and a PMP for a health tech company. Just happy to check in.
Outstanding. Well, glad to have you with us. You're in for a ride just like all of our viewers. Let's recap what's happened this week. As James Baldwin once said, Uncle Jimmy did celebrate his birthday. But he said these words: children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them, which is why it's so important to break the chain of racism in our world today. Just a reminder for those of you who are watching. Also, we'd like to wish a very happy belated birthday to our forever president, Barack Obama. He turned 59 this week. And then, of course, as Riley knows, and we've talked about this, but Beyonce breaks streaming records yet again with her Black is King film, and it received 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. And this week was also the 75 years since the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. And we should also remind you that 1 million people downloaded the T-Mobile app called T-Mobile Tuesday just to get a free Popeye's chicken sandwich. And then, of course, they deleted it. So that's kind of what's happened since we've been gone. But let's get into the thick of things. We'll start off today with yet another inductee to the Karen Hall of Fame. You all may have seen this, but a San Diego woman by the name of Amber Gillis posted a photo on Facebook with the caption, "Meet Lennon Gutierrez from Starbucks who refused to serve me because I wasn't wearing a face mask. Next time, I'll wait for the cops and bring my medical exemption." But the story had an interesting turn because a stranger from Orange County, California named Matt Cohen saw the post, wanted to donate a few dollars to the barista's tip jar, so he started a GoFundMe campaign and posted on Facebook. Well, in true form, since it's this particular period of time in protesting. So the post filled with hundreds of comments from people surrounding and supporting the barista that the tip money, if you can believe this, exceeded $100,000. Lennon said he plans to use the money to further his education and follow his dreams of becoming a dancer, but the story just doesn't end there. So our inductee into the Karen Hall of Fame, Gillis, says she wants half of the money. And her quote was, "It was discrimination and everybody is okay with enabling and rewarding bad behavior." And when asked if she has an apology or a message to the public, she said, "Nope, absolutely not. I feel like I need the apology because I was discriminated against. I'm the one who's sick. So I'm going to ask you all a stupid question for tonight. Should she get half the money?" And just to clarify, she made the negative commentary because she didn't want to put on the mask. this great gentleman put up the GoFundMe page, and now this barista has $100,000, which is well above the money he'd make from Starbucks. So I'm curious, Shaina, what you think? Is the lady entitled for half the money? Because had she not raised it as an issue, there would be no page. What you think, Shaina?
I'm just, you see that's what I think. I'm just going to sit here and blink. That just speaks and furthers the idea of their feeling of entitlement. She feels she's entitled to his money and has no right to it at all. So what you said, ever what, but people feel sorry for him. It's his tip jar. He has a tip jar at Starbucks. She doesn't. But there you go. Sense of entitlement. She wants to be entitled to his money.
Okay, that's one perspective. Riley, what you think? If she hadn't raised it as an issue, it wouldn't even be an item for discussion.
Be that as it may, Shaina took the words out of my mouth, because I literally was going to say, and this is not shocking, because if the woman was entitled at the time of the incident, why do we expect her not to be entitled now? This entitlement is a broad spectrum. Like when you have a sense of entitlement, you perpetuate that in every incident in your life. And you think, and the sad part of this is, it's not just her being a bitch, it's really her really believing in her mind that she has a right to some of this money because she was the one that brought up the issue. But let this be a lesson to her. You brought up the issue, and guess what? Someone else gets rewarded for it.
Yep, the universe responded on her behalf. That's a good point, Riley. What do you think, Tiffany? Would you give her part of the money?
Absolutely no. She does not deserve any of the money. She doesn't deserve any of the credit. She doesn't deserve anything. She needed to put a mask on, not only for her own safety, but for everybody else around her. Girl, she needs to just have several seats.
Well,
stop.
and she did say she was going to wait for the cops next time and then produce her medical documentation of why she was exempted. Dwight, I know you're new to the conversations, but this is the kind of stuff we get into. We have this category, the Karen Hall of Fame. You hear all the stories about the Karens. This is the latest one. What you think in this case? You think she deserves $50K? Should she get half of the GoFundMe money?
Absolutely not. I mean, people forget what this whole thing is about. You know what I mean? And the more people that we have like her, the longer we're going to be in this situation. So absolutely not.
So nobody wants to give up any of the dough, even though she raised the issue. And I get it, because I wouldn't give her one single dime other than making her famous. She should be thankful she's still employed, if she is. We probably need to do a follow-up on that story to find out. The other thing this particular week, you may recall, Vice President Joe Biden, now presidential candidate, said that he would be announcing his pick for vice presidential, his running mate, by August 1st. Well, if you look at the clock, August 1st has come and gone, but that date has come and gone, and the top contenders seem to be Kamala Harris, Senator out of California, Susan Rice, the former UN advisor, also Karen Bass, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm curious, because everybody's having this discussion this week, who are you all hoping for? Anybody hoping for any of them, or somebody totally different? We'll kick it off with you.
I can't wait to hear what Tiffany says.
I was just
I can't wait to hear what Tiffany says for this one. I'm like, ooh, Tiffany, take all the time. Take all the time. Look, me and Riley don't care, but
look, we
don't care. Go ahead,
like
Tiffany.
Shaina did last week. Predict this.
I know, right?
Well, I do have a favorite candidate. I am supporting Susan Rice. I think that her foreign policy is going to be strong as we try to fix these international relationships. I also think that she will be the one that will be able to really, give him that sense of the Obama years and bringing that back and engaging in those type of dialogues and conversations that the other women can't. And, she's not shy to throw a punch or two in a very nice, diplomatic, and political way. She will tell you where you can, handle all that. So that's my girl.
You ain't want to say it? Just say it.
That's my girl. That's my girl.
Dwight, I'm curious.
Wait, so I wanted to let Tiffany get the intellectual perspective out so that I can speak ignorantly.
Oh, you ready now?
So, I wanted to get the smartness out. So I think that a lot of people want to see Kamala Harris. And as a California girl, I'd be pushing for her and hope for it. but I know the aftermath is going to be people saying, she's too light-skinned, she's half white, she's not really black, he said it was going to be a black woman, and then there's just going to be so much of a conversation behind that. I wish Ernest was here, because I'm thinking his girl in Atlanta may be a look. His girl in Atlanta may be a good look. And we know how much he's been pushing for her. So come on, Kiki.
Okay, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Go ahead, Riley. I see you waiting. I put the women up, all these black female mayors from across the country as potential candidates too.
You know, besides, I don't have anyone that I can think of that I don't have a preference. I don't know enough, because you guys know how I am. But I will say this. I want to know what the dragging your feet is about, because I feel like he thinks that because of the current occupant that he has the luxury of, they're just going to vote for me no matter what. And I don't want him to make that mistake of thinking that he doesn't really have as much time as he thinks that he has. And for him to say that he was going to announce it on August 1st and then not do it, and we're now, 5 days in, I think that is ridiculous, because you're going to mess around and make the same mistake that we made 4 years ago, where we thought we got this in the bag. He's never going to win. It's never going to happen, whatever. And you think that black people or people or minorities or whoever is going to just vote for you by default, because you can't at the last minute just decide, oh, what if he just all of a sudden at the last minute decides he's not going to pick a black woman, piss everybody off. And then he's going to think like, well, what are they going to do? Because you know what? They got to vote for me anyway, because they don't want to vote for Donald Trump. They want Donald Trump again. They got to pick me anyway. So I want him to make a decision right now so that, stop dragging.
Don't matter. It ain't going to be no election. Ain't gonna be no. It ain't gonna be no election, so it don't matter.
Don't be putting that out there.
I'm just saying.
We are not gonna believe that. Dwight, come on, add some sense to this.
Yeah, you know what? I tend to side with Riley on this whole thing. I feel like politics is politics. And the only reason why Joe Biden is kind of smart. He's kind of slick. He's got a little bit of swagger. He knows what he's doing, and only, choosing, black women for the nomination. And he wants to get the vote at the end of the day. And so, to me, it's a little bit too much political, too much, strategy. And I don't really like the fact that, he narrowed it all the way down to only black women for the VP nomination. I gotta be honest with you. I don't like it. I think it's too strategic.
You thought he should have kept the field open and said it could be anybody?
Absolutely, 1,000%. Because I think now he's going to piss people off, our white constituents specifically, and it's going to be harder to win the election that way.
Well, I put up a couple of examples of black women who are leading cities, from New Orleans to Baton Rouge to obviously San Francisco, our hometown mayor in DC, Mayor Bowser. And we've talked about Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. We've talked about Keisha Lance Bottoms in Atlanta. Their names haven't surfaced as much, but what we do know is that there's a huge pool of talent out there. So I'm going to disagree with you, Dwight. There are tons of black women who are in a position that have the skill set, knowledge, and previous experience to be considered. Not saying
that they're not.
But I also agree with you that Joe Biden, the timing to me is suspect, Riley. Even when you said that, like, why didn't he announce on August 1st? What's he delaying? I will tell you, if he switches gears and it is not a woman of color, specifically a black woman, I think it's going to be problematic all the way around, because people are going to say, we can't trust you because you told us one thing, so you're no different than the orange man. At least he gave us a $1,200.
Well, already we can't trust you because you told us you were going to make a decision on this date, right, and you didn't do it. So now what's going to happen when you're in office and you tell us that certain things are going to happen? Are we going to have to wonder, well, is it really going to happen? Stop making promises.
Well, most importantly, look, the mayor in Chicago, you couldn't find a picture of her with lipstick on?
Really?
No.
So let me clarify before we start entertaining folks.
I can't.
I pulled this particular image, which was already a collage for a Women's Wear Daily cover story that they did. So I cannot be attributed with how these women look in these particular photos. It is interesting that two of them have on pearls and the rest of them don't. And you're
right, Roddy. I feel like that's gonna be on the episode of Disclosure. I don't like it. They got her up there looking crazy. She can put on some lipstick.
Shall I go back to the white mothers who are the face of the Portland protests? I'm just saying.
Look, and I'm not even saying that these black women are not qualified. They're absolutely qualified. And if I was going to vote, I'd vote for Kamala, absolutely. But it's just the fact that he narrowed it down. He's very, very strategic. He knows what's going to get people out to vote. It's a little bit too political for me at the end of the day, and I don't like it.
Tiffany,
can I just make a thank you. I think that he knows that he owes Black constituents the fact that he is even in this position, because had it not been for Jim Clyburn and South Carolina and the Black women that stumped for him and all of this, he wouldn't even be in this position to begin with. So it's some time for some comeuppance. So yeah, you owe us this VP pick. We're expecting someone who will bring it to the table. We're expecting excellence, and that is what we deserve. And we have earned it, and we deserve it. We want a seat at the table, and you will make that happen. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about the white constituents that weren't voting for you. You're gonna have to worry about the Black ones that were.
Yeah, it's like I said before. Even diversity hires doesn't mean that somebody didn't deserve the job. You know what I mean? Even if it is, and that's exactly what it boils down to. It's like he has, like you said, he owes Black people or Black women who were for him. So who did all this work, even though it does come off as like, oh, it's a diversity hire, it's well deserved for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And just to give you a quick update too on the Karen fiasco that we mentioned earlier, 8,000 people signed on to the GoFundMe, which equaled the $100,000 for the barista. She decided she would launch her own GoFundMe campaign since she wasn't getting half. She wanted to raise money for a lawyer. So 35 people so far has signed on to her GoFundMe, and she's raised a whole whopping, you wait for it, $430. I don't even know if that's going to get her an hour consultation. I know with my attorney, it costs more than that.
Retainers don't cost more than that. Like, come on.
Really? Right. We're going to keep it moving as we speak of Joe Biden. Barry Pesgraves, the mayor of Luray, which is a small town in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, is being urged to resign. You may have heard this. He compared Vice President Biden's hopeful to Aunt Jemima, which we referenced. Look at a previous episode. We talk about Aunt Jemima and the changing of the product branding. But anyway, the mayor, he talked about Vice President Biden's hopeful candidates as Aunt Jemima in a Facebook post. And the post basically read, Joe Biden has just announced Aunt Jemima as his VP pick. Now, the suspected white supremacist, alleged white supremacist, said it was meant to be a joke. What are your thoughts? Do you think that was tongue-in-cheek, or do you think there's probably some truth to what he said? Go ahead. We'll start with you, Shaina.
What part could be tongue-in-cheek? Like, he's not Black. He doesn't get to make a joke of such. Like, you can only do tongue-in-cheek if you're a part of that specific category. So, no, that's exactly how he felt. That's exactly how he thought. And Luray Caverns ain't super great anyway. People like to go up there and have a good time, and they spend all this money on all these commercials. They ain't got to worry about seeing me back up there ever no more.
I don't know if anybody's Luray. Go ahead, Ryan.
It's really, you'd have to be like the most stupid person in the world if we just talked about Aunt Jemima was just in the news. So you can't say, I don't know. That's the wonderful thing about media, social media, the internet, and, the climate that we live in. Like I said to you guys last week, you can know we're living in an era where you don't have the luxury of saying, I don't know. So because we were talking about Aunt Jemima, you already knew that it was a sore subject. You already knew that it was a racist thing. You already knew that it was controversial. So for you to say that, being a white person saying that, and then you just say, oh, I was just joking. Come on, that's just absolute BS. That you were not joking. I feel like people say things and in a drunken stupor or whatever they want to say. It was ambient or whatever. They write their little tweets, whatever people want to, do. And then as soon as it starts to blow up, it's like, oh, I was just joking. It's like me saying to Shaina, saying something to hurt her feelings. And then as soon as she gets offended, I'm like, it's something I knew that was offensive. I'm just like, oh girl, I was just joking with you. Like, it's just a joke. No, you don't have the luxury of saying that. You sound so stupid. And may you lose everything like everyone's doing. Hey, how dumb.
Forever be in your favor.
Right, Hunger Games, like, yeah. But the thing is, you're not a part of that class of people, so you don't get to make those types of jokes.
But Shaina, even if we made that joke, even if we made that joke here on this platform, it still would be in poor taste, simply, even though we're Black, simply because it was just in the media. You cannot say you don't know. This just happened a month ago.
Yep, and you're trying
to... If we did it, it would be in poor taste, but no one would think racist. No one would think prejudice. We would just be, oh, she has poor taste. She's classist.
Or maybe we ignorant. I'm curious, Dwight, what's your thought? What's your thought as you, the mayor of Louisville, recognize you to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact of the matter is that folks don't want us to climb this ladder. Folks don't want us in positions of power in any way, shape, or form. And, they'll use this like sense of humor to kind of like weasel their way into, us not, being in that position. But it's never going to happen. Like, they're never, ever going to feel like we deserve where we need to be.
Very well said. Tiffany, I'm going to turn it to you for the final thought, because this rings familiar to me. All the way back when the Obamas were running for the first term, and we saw when we saw the New Yorker cover, and then they had the fist bump ad that they did, then they had the one where she had the machine gun and the turban and the head wrap. The other one where they tried to make her look like a monkey. They did all these caricatures of who she was as a person. So I'm like, Riley, this seems to me that it's in that exact same vein that you can't plead ignorance, but you are the resident political expert. So I'm curious, maybe he gets more latitude. Maybe people in politics get more.
He doesn't get it. No, he doesn't get any more latitude, nor does he deserve it. However, whoever the VP is better be ready, because it's going to get ugly, especially if it's Susan Rice, her history with Benghazi. All of that's going to start coming back up if it's her. So let's get ready. Let's be ready to fight this war, because that's exactly what this is. And you better, she better be ready to sling that dirt.
Tiffany, do you think that because of Susan Rice's history with Benghazi, similar to how it kind of tainted Hillary Clinton's run, do you think that alone may make her name get scratched off the short list?
I think that is going to be a problem, but she has been asked about it several times already in preparation of this, and she's answered it flawlessly every single time. I'm not overly concerned about it. I think that if she continues in the same vein that she's been going, and she also brings up the fact that Republicans spent millions of dollars on the congressional hearings that amounted to really much of nothing, if she starts saying it like that, she can overcome it. But they will drive that into the grave if it is her.
And Tiffany, you bring up a good point, because if she's able to draw the correlation between how much money was spent on the Benghazi hearings versus how much money we're spending on the unemployment checks or programs where people see something of real value, whereas the other was something to do about nothing. You're right. That's
all she's got to do.
You spun that. I see that. We probably need that.
I know she's gonna be on front of the campaign. She's gonna be on the ground.
Simone Sanders is gonna be reaching out to you next week saying, "Look, give us guidance." We're gonna keep the conversation going and put it on a slightly lighter note, but different feel. So our beloved comedian Dave Chappelle was recently quoted as saying the following: "Our culture has accepted two huge lies. The first is that if you disagree with someone's lifestyle, you must fear or hate them. The second lie is that to love someone means you agree with everything they believe, say, or do. Both are nonsense. You don't have to compromise your convictions in order to be compassionate," is what Dave finished by saying. I'm curious, do you agree with that statement? I'm just going to read it back to you. Our culture has accepted two huge lies. The first is that if you disagree with someone's lifestyle, you must fear or hate them. And then the second is, in order to love someone means you have to agree with everything they believe, say, or do. So I'm curious, do you think he's right when he says you don't have to compromise your convictions in order to be compassionate? And I would also add to display empathy. So I'm curious, let's start with you, Dwight, kind of what your thought is when you hear those words from Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I work in diversity, inclusion, and belonging professionally. And, you know, for me, I think if you're not saying something, that you are being complacent and you're being somewhat ignorant in a lot of ways. You know, so I think it's important for, you know, folks to, you know, step up and be supportive of, you know, all types of lifestyles, all types of walks of life. You know, I'm not, you know, I think if everybody was judged for their past decisions, you know, we'd be in a bad place. And you know, we just had to take it day by day. But you know, I kind of disagree with what he's saying overall.
Okay. Shaina, what's your thought? Dave Chappelle, you think he gets it right on this one? Basically finishing his thought saying you don't have to compromise. What you think?
Right. It's kind of tricky, but I think that I'm all about inclusion and inclusive meritocracy, right? But then the thing about it is I don't think if I don't agree with somebody's lifestyle, I just don't agree with it. It doesn't mean that I'm a hater. It doesn't mean that I don't like them. It doesn't mean anything other than I just don't see it for myself. Like if somebody has a criminal lifestyle, it doesn't mean I fear them. It doesn't mean that I don't understand it. It just means that that's not the lifestyle that I would choose for me, my loved ones, my children. And that kind of expands through other different types of lifestyles. But people have a right to do whatever they want to do. Just keep it away from me. And then as far as being in love with somebody, you're not going to agree all the time. I mean, I agree with him on that. That is a huge lie that people train and teach children growing up that, oh, everything is going to be peaches and cream. Everything is going to be great. And then people get shocked all of a sudden when there's a disagreement. You have two grown people who have lived separate lives with a whole different set of beliefs and thoughts that now have to come together. It's not going to always match up.
Interesting two perspectives. Tiffany Thomas, before we go to Riley, what's your thought about Dave Chappelle's commentary?
I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that he's not being inclusive in that statement. I think that he's saying that just because I'm being inclusive doesn't mean that every facet of your personality is something that I have to be okay with. Like, even if you look at your own family members, you can look at them and say, oh, you did that for real? I don't really get down with that, but you're my family and I love you as such. And it doesn't really broaden that. But what I do have a question of is in that first part of the statement, when he says culture, does he mean the Black community? Is that what he's referring to? Or is he referring to American society as a whole? That would be my only question.
And you know what? And I believe this is lifted from his documentary, you know, the impromptu stand-up piece that he did. I think he's talking about the Black culture. But curious, Riley, what's your thinking about that? Because he does say at the outset, you know, these are two of the biggest lies. I think, Dwight, you said it's a lie, right? These are two of the biggest lies that people have been told over time. Can I actually still care about you and be concerned, Riley, even if I don't agree with who you are or your own belief system? Or what? Does that work?
This is a tough one for me, because I don't think the problem is the not agreeing with a lifestyle or something. I think what it is not taking the time to understand and really educate yourself to understand why. Because a lot of times people don't like things, they really just don't know enough about it, or don't agree with a certain type of lifestyle because they don't know enough about it, or because of what they've been taught from, you know, whether it be like we talked before in the Black church, or whether we've talked about in, you know, just culturally. And I think the bigger issue is not taking the time to ask questions and try to understand why somebody is. But I don't think, I think I kind of disagree with the first part and agree with the second half. I don't know. It's really tough for me. And you know, I normally have a very, like, you know, but I'm that's a tough one. It
You
really
know,
is.
it's funny, and I think about that. I often try to remind people that there are three sides to every issue: yours, mine, and the one we've yet to consider. And I tell folks all day, every day, when it comes to humanity, regardless of what your personal choices, your lifestyle, your background is, my personal belief is you're entitled to whatever it is you believe, as long as it does not infringe upon my or anybody else's right to believe and act how we choose to believe. And as long as we stay in that space, we're good. But most of the time in this day and age, we're veering way off from there. I'll give you another example of something topical today. The news, if you saw Newsweek magazine, their cover for the month of August shows a young man who's headed back to school. He has a backpack, his lunchbox, a full hazmat suit, and a face mask. But of course, the White House occupant says the kids are almost immune to this thing. What do you think is the best course of action for parents? Do you think we should actually be sending our kids back to school, like the picture we saw out of Georgia? If you saw that today or yesterday, they're all huddled in the hallway. Only 4 have masks out of probably 100. I'm trying to figure this thing out, but I'm curious. Who wants to start? Shaina, you ready?
All I'm going to say is Dr. Gupta said, no, I just think Dr. Sanjay said, no, he's not sending his kids. So for me, that's the Bible. If Dr. Sanjay said it, or Dr. Fauci says it, it's the law, it's the Bible, it's the coronavirus Bible, and that's the Bible that I'm swearing by in this here situation. I'm looking at them, y'all sending y'all kids? No, I'm not sending my kids. That's my final answer.
COVID-19 book, chapter 1, book 2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
There you go.
You think we're ready to
Verses 12 through 17.
Absolutely not. I mean, y'all remember chicken pox before there was an actual vaccine? Like, kids used to get it and they would get it okay, you know what I mean? But once they got it to an adult, it'd be 100 times worse. And that's what this whole thing is about. Like, you know, the kids are going to be carriers and they're going to survive. They eat sand and dirt and poop and all that kind of thing. They'll be fine, right? But as soon as they bring that home to mommy, daddy, grandma, grandpa, they in the grave 6 feet under. You know what I mean? And that's what really this whole thing is about. So
Tiffany, Riley, what's your thinking in terms of this? You think we're ready for kids to be able to go back to school regardless of what the occupant says?
Yeah, well, remember a couple of weeks ago when I said that children are walking petri dishes, right? Remember I said that? Yeah. So here's my thing. I think it's more of an issue of common sense, which we already know that, you know, the occupant doesn't really have much common sense, if any at all. But my thing is like I said, children are walking petri dishes. If we are going to send our kids back to school, answer why is everything else still in the state that it was? Like, if we're going to send kids back to school, can we open up, you know, movie theaters, and can we like start, because, you know, as an entertainer, I would love to have a concert. So if we're going to send kids back to school, can I have a concert, please? Because that doesn't make any sense. And it's just like Dwight just said, when you send these kids to school, being the petri dishes that they are, you're going to get the teacher sick, the principal sick. They're going to bring it back home to the other kids at home, and they're going to bring it back to the parents, and it's just going to be a whole nother outbreak. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. It just doesn't make sense. If everything else is still, there's still things that are still closed, the one thing where kids have to be close to each other should not be open. Like, that's the last thing that should be open.
Wow. It is interesting, Riley. Before we go to you, Tiffany, I was looking, I had to tell somebody earlier today, I said, you realize the reason we don't have high incidences of young people contracting the virus or being sick, schools have been closed since March. It's not like they were going to school and didn't get it. They literally have not been there for that period of time. Anyway, that's just food for thought. Tiffany, what's your thinking? You think kids are ready to go? Schools should go ahead and resume as if business as usual?
I believe that Republicans are doing this because if children aren't going back to school, parents can't go back to work. This is an economic issue for them. This is not a public health issue. This is not a safety issue. This is not a, we really care about, you know, how this impact. No, this is an economic issue. An economic issue is driven by the powers that be and the causes and effects of the economy. Yes. And they need this economy to start moving again. What? So if kids aren't in school and parents don't have that flexibility and they're no longer making money and money isn't being spent and all of this stuff isn't moving, then the economy will continue to flatline and we will run the risk of a deeper recession and potentially a depression.
Well,
But had they handled it accordingly from the beginning, we may not be here now. So Republicans only have themselves to thank.
well,
And if they allow this to go on, then let's keep getting sick. Because black people are wearing them masks.
Because I keep seeing lines at Gucci and Louis Vuitton waiting to get in. So somebody got money from somewhere, Shaina. It must be that. It's coming from somewhere. But
don't come for me like that. Don't come for me like that, Byron. Because first of all, I ain't waiting in line. She just called me and bring it to the car.
Move on to that point. You know, they talk about high-risk categories. You all may remember when I think it was either Nancy Pelosi or Maxine Waters or both who talked about the occupant being in a high-risk category. It was Nancy Pelosi because she said he was obese. What were you thinking?
Morbidly obese.
Morbidly obese.
In his, shall we say, weight group, had what is morbidly obese, morbidly obese, morbidly obese.
Allegedly morbidly obese, right? Thank you, Shaina.
That's not alleged. You can't say alleged to something you can see with your eyes, Byron.
Look.
We lucky she didn't say he's fat as shit.
But yet he's healthy. He's like the healthiest person ever.
I'm gonna leave that right there. But what I was going to say is when you think about high-risk categories, in all seriousness, the typical educator is 50 years or older, which is a high-risk category. So even my thinking around why would you put a student in this particular predicament or put teachers in the predicament to get sick, I think it's gonna accelerate and it's gonna expand longer than what we see. If they're trying to rush back.
Course.
And we
See,
saw
I don't have any children, but if I did, they ain't going to nobody's school nowhere.
Amen.
And really, as quiet as it's kept, what nobody's really talking about is the governor of Maryland, for all his many flaws, has shut down Maryland schools, including the one that 45's son goes to. His son isn't going back to school. So before you have that conversation with anybody's with the American people, you need to make sure your child is going to somebody's school somewhere. If not, you need to be quiet on that too.
Tiffany, you know that the rules do not apply for his family. They have not before the
right. Exactly. That's the point.
So mentioning different rules that apply to folks, Trader Joe's, the company, has decided that they will remove all racist branding and packaging from some of their international food items following That's right, Shane.
I want to see it.
So they are eliminating labels like Trader Ming's, Trader Jose, and Trader Giotto's. The beliefs are that that's a narrative exoticism or an eroticism of cultures. So I'm curious, the company says it's going to comply because they did the petition, but do you think it should have taken the petition to make this happen, or as a company, they should have done it regardless? Or is this much to do about nothing? Do we really care about the different brands within Trader Joe's?
I want to know what's the Trader Jose. So the Trader Jose is it taco shells? Is it burritos? Like what?
Are you being
is it a microwavable burrito? Because I really want to know how deep it goes. Because if the Trader Jose is a fried chicken flavor, then it's not gonna matter. Like, was it really something that's so spot on that we know that it's connected because of that reason?
The either Mexican or Spanish influence, and I believe product lines evoke whatever that international cuisine would be. So like Giotto's would be Italian food.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm gonna tell you why this doesn't make sense. Because it wasn't a derogatory term to describe Hispanic people. Jose is a name in Hispanic culture. I don't understand. It would be different if they used a derogatory term like Redskins, or like the whole thing about Aunt Jemima. So am I wrong? Am I missing something? Like
no.
Right. So it's just a name, an Italian name. You know, even if the product is not if it's an Italian product, or if it's a like pasta or something, and it has an Italian name, that doesn't make it racist.
I mean, believe it or not, y'all, that they're actually talking about reneging on the name master's degree because of the term master.
Okay, it's funny you should say that, Dwight. It's funny you should say that.
Master bedroom.
Now calling master suites and homes the principal suite.
These naming conventions are really, in my opinion, irrelevant. if you really feel that these are derogatory terms, put your money where your mouth is. Bring some money into the community. Let's talk about some things in terms of this police reform, which is actually what the movement was about before it was co-opted and all this other stuff. I don't care about Trader Jose's, Trader anybody else's, any master bedrooms, master degrees. Look, unless there is some money exchanging hands, unless there is some police reform, criminal justice reform, some actual tangible results that I can see for my community. Let's get these people out of these food deserts. Let's how about we work on our education? Let's get them some better medical treatment. You know, some of that.
Yeah.
That I could care less about a name.
And you know what, Tiffany, I 100% agree with you. But what's funny is I think that they're trying to, because we live in the era of cancel culture, right. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get in front of the problem just in case, because nobody wants to be canceled. Everybody's afraid of being canceled or afraid of, like, you know, hurting someone. But I absolutely agree with you. That literally is watering down the problem. It's taken away from what really needs to be happening. Changing of names is like the least of what's happening.
Oh, the least of my concerns. Exactly. Yeah. I could care less.
You know, Tiffany, to your point, my question is, did you change the board seats though? So who's sitting on your board of directors to advise you going forward? Who's getting that?
Thank you.
Even outside of what you mentioned in terms of supporting the community, that issue, food desert, is real. We know that many public schools had to stay open because kids wouldn't eat otherwise in low-income communities. I'm gonna move forward and shift gears. You know, a few weeks ago, we talked about the new Black Bachelor. Well, it seems there's going to be a new Black Bachelorette. And believe this, she's gotten the gig by default. Tanisha Adams is her name. She's taken on the job after Claire Crowley says she fell in love during the pandemic. So I guess she got booed up in the middle of the pandemic, decided she found the one. And now the default individual, Tanisha, is going to be our Bachelorette. And I'm assuming this is going to come out in 2021. Curious what your thoughts are. You think we're making progress when we see changes like this, or is it just a little something?
You ready?
Go ahead, Riley.
Get it, Riley.
I still ain't watching. I already I've told you guys before. Okay, so now this is what we call a true diversity hire. But what I have said this before. I'm okay with certain things. Just like, have your thing over there. Nobody watched The Bachelor and The Bachelorette before, that of color. Like, we weren't watching that show before. We're not watching it now because it irks my nerves when I hear about stuff like this because it's just so stupid. It's like, we need diversity in several other places, but nobody cared about The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. I'm still not watching. You're not gonna just get my Black viewership because you put a Black person in there or a white person in there after 20-something years of having the show and 20 seasons of having the show, when we told you on the first and second season. It doesn't make any sense at all. So let them have the show, and whoever wants to watch will watch it, but I won't be watching.
Well, you know, Dwight, I'm curious. So we talked about this in a previous episode when they named The Bachelor, he was going to be Black, but it's not coming out till next January. So I'm curious, what's your thought? The fact that we're going to have a Black Bachelorette on the network, and she's going to be the lead for the cast.
I'm curious as to who the contestants are. Are they all Black? Are they all white? Are they majority white? You know, what do they look like? That's my true question. It does matter. It does matter because, you know, you get the whole token thing going on. Like, if you throw a Black person in there, period, just one,
well, let me ask
get credit. You check a box.
Are you going to watch?
Absolutely not. I'm
Thank
with you,
you.
Riley.
All right. Thank you.
But I would be more inclined to watch if it was a whole Black contestant pool.
You sure that wouldn't turn into I Love New York?
I mean, why? But why though? Why though? Because I Love New York was a different. I feel like it was a different quote unquote class of people, right? Like they were trying to intentionally pick and choose who they put on that show.
But see, there you go.
Look at New York. Look at New York.
You just answered your own question. The The reason it's not going to happen is because there are going to be certain people who are going to think that if we have an entire cast of black people, we're going to get I Love New York or Flavor of Love. We're going to get a different class of black people. That's why it's
absolutely.
Well, that's going to depend on the casting.
Shaina, hold on one
second.
second. I just want to go on record and say I literally love the show I Love New York because it showed me every facet of people or person in the world, whether I agreed or not. That and Flavor of Love. I just want to put a pin there.
That was very diverse.
Out in history, transforming reality.
That has totally changed my opinion of you, but I'm gonna let it slide for now. I'm putting on my non-judgmental face, but I will say I agree with Dwight in that if they have a cast, and it's about casting, if they are able to bring to the screen some intelligent, positive people of color in a prime time slot, and I can watch them every week at a certain time in prime time.
Shaina, I'm gonna push you on that because all of those descriptors you use are descriptors that we say that white people use of people. You used intelligent people that can put sentences together. Why can't it just be the average black person who ends up on the show?
No, because I don't want it to look like Love and Hip Hop.
That don't end up on TV.
I mean,
those folks don't.
That is the average black person.
Right.
Average black people are smart. We are intelligent.
Right.
But typically, when they start casting us to do reality shows, they start to look for the bottom feeder people out of the hood, which isn't the average. They're the below average. But that's what they want to bring to the screen to further benefit their task and goals of pushing us down.
Because they know that's what they want to see. That's what the people want to see.
Let's be all the way clear. People who are well behaved do not make great television, and no one's going to watch if, like, by standards, great television. What I mean is, if there's not any drama, it doesn't make for a good reality TV show. So they're going to want to cast some people that can be that way. It's not going to be the people that you guys think that are going to be like you were saying, like, very, very well educated, very this, whatever.
Now what I'm going to say is this, because I've been watching that Phaedra, honey, on Marriage Boot Camp, and she is the shadiest person of all time, baby. She's so shady and messy, and she know how to get it done. And they can put together Kenya Moore. She's so shady and messy, but she's gonna do it in a way that it's the way I like to see.
That is
so I do want to see the shady. I do.
Now I'm looking at you like this.
But I don't want to see the ratchet all the time. They can put a couple of them on there, but if they put in 20 bachelors, it was almost like, if you remember when Omarosa did her show.
Oh,
she
Lord
had a
Jesus.
good cast of guys. They were all different types of guys, and it was not ratchet. Now, I will give 45 credit for that, because he put her on with that. But they did bring together a good pool of black guys. And I was surprised that I think all of them were black. They may have thrown a white one in that she kicked out early, but it was a great pool, and it was a great cast. And it still had its nitty-gritty mess, because they had all kinds of stuff going on. If you put a group of guys together, it's gonna be some stuff. They snuck out and was at the strip club. Like, they was
Omarosa was a lot in general.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and just to clarify, we should also state Tanisha, we believe, is mixed. I think she's white and black, just as an FYI.
Okay. That doesn't make
Why you didn't tell that to me first? You got me talking the whole talk.
But she looks black, so does it matter?
Okay, but wait a minute now.
That chick really looked like the girl that she replaced. Hold on. Y'all all know I'm biracial too, so don't do that. But number one, Barack Obama is biracial also.
Right.
No. So, I'm not saying it's a problem.
Barack is black.
Because she's biracial, they're gonna think it's okay to put white guys up there.
But remember, the Bachelor is also biracial. The black guy who's a new bachelor, he's also biracial.
So Tiffany, final thought.
So, yeah, they about to put some. That's their excuse to get white folks on there too.
Biracial bachelor and bachelorette. What's your thought?
Well, I saw the two women side by side, like in the caption side by side. I thought they looked very facially similar. You know, there might have been a little addition of melanin in there, but.
So the other thing is, as we draw down our time for tonight, the occupant, as you know, is trying very hard to discourage mail-in voting by alleging that the post office won't be able to handle the load. By the way, the post office, for folks who don't know, has been around since 1775, and 5 states have already begun using mail-in ballots. They include Colorado, Wyoming, Oregon, Utah, and Washington State. Just curious, very quickly, get a couple thoughts about the whole process, mail-in ballots. I'm curious, I know, Tiffany, you have a very clear thought, so I'm curious what your thinking is right now. Do you think this is just a distraction, or you think there's actually a legitimate concern that this process could go too long?
It's a distraction because he's creating it as one, because he needs to cheat to win. He is underfunding the post office because of this reason. He is undermining the post office for this reason. There are serious health concerns that will still be prominent in November, clearly, because he hasn't taken care of this issue. So, and he needs to win because he doesn't want to be arrested. He doesn't want to go to jail. So clearly he needs to win. Clearly he needs to cheat in order to do that. Orange
skin. I think it's a winner. Orange drunk suit, orange skin, they kind of match.
They match.
Anybody
especially with the right lighting, a little bit of that.
We're gonna do our own scientific poll. Anybody do absentee voting or vote by mail? Anybody do that? Okay, 2 of us. I prefer to vote in person, but if I'm traveling, I'm still gonna cast my vote. I'm curious, anybody else think? Go ahead, Riley.
I have a question. When he said this, and answer this seriously for me. Did the postal service, did anybody, a representative, speak up after that? Because how dare you speak for us that we can't do our job? Like, you know what I mean? Since we've been around since, what'd you say, 1770 something?
1775. So the postal service can't really offer official commentary, but the Association of Letter Carriers, which is the association of those folks who deliver the mail, they certainly have said, we've been doing this and we can do this. We already do it, as we mentioned, in the previous 5 states. It's actually not new. I think the concern is, or at least what the chief of staff said today on CNN, was what happens when it takes too long for the ballot to actually arrive and then be processed? What if this puts us till January? And of course, my response is, you can say what you want to, but the Constitution says come January, what is it, the 2nd Monday, 3rd Monday in January, you will inaugurate a new president, and the Constitution ain't gonna change, whether we counted all the votes or not.
We'll have enough
time. It's gonna happen because you told us last week and it happened.
Right.
Yes, Shaina.
What I heard was, so they had the representative from West Virginia was speaking, and so what your president, what 45 did was, in addition,
not my president,
not my 45, 45.
Blaspheme on this show one more damn time, and we're gonna have a problem.
What he did was, in addition to him saying that the post office couldn't handle it, he started sending out messages that he was going to shut down certain post offices. So now, during this time where you need all of them open so that they can push all the ballots through, he started saying, I'm going to shut some of them down. So that's another part of him making it improbable. So opening up the schools so that the kids get everybody sick, which means the country is going to have to shut down again. And if the country shuts down, the voting polling places aren't going to be able to be open. So he's finding ways to make the pandemic worse.
That's why he wants to
shut down the country,
right?
So that the country will be shut down, and then we can't vote. And then he's going to make people believe that the mail-in voting is not accurate, and there's all this voting fraud. He's stacking all this stuff up. It ain't going to be no election.
Right. What I think a lot of people don't recognize is that, like, he is the most powerful person in the universe right now, currently. And he didn't get there by mistake. He's a genius. He's a master manipulator, and he's a con artist. And so that combination of two, like, he can do anything that he wants to do, and he'll control the narrative as long as he possibly can, because he literally is a genius in that specific arena. Like, he does this professionally.
And you're spot on, Dwight. I know, Riley, you probably got a comment, but the reality is he also votes by mail. He does absentee voting, so he knows it works. But that whole spin around, I'm not sure, and blah, blah, blah. Go ahead, Riley. We're going to give you a thought before we move forward.
I just think this just goes to show you that he doesn't even have faith in himself that he can win this election, because because let me tell you, if it wasn't the postal system, and if they find, they say, oh no, we're confident we can handle this, then it's going to become something else. And then if that doesn't work, it's going to become something else. And he's going to keep trying things because he is very, very scared right now. He's very scared that, where at the beginning of this year, I'm pretty sure he thought that he had it in the bag. And then it's like, oh, wait, well, let me exhaust every single resource and every tactic and pay off whoever I can pay off and do whatever I can in order for me to be able to steal the election again. Or, like Shaina said, he's going to try to say, well, let me just be president for the rest of, more time. That's just not going to work. Our eyes are too open, and he's scared. And he has no faith in himself that he can win this election. He knows he doesn't deserve it.
And you know what, Riley, you're exactly right. I mean, everybody's right. And Dwight, I think just to pick up on your point, if we had we had the election prior to COVID, he possibly would have an easier path to victory. I think it's been his election to lose all along, meaning he had the bully pulpit of the White House of being at 1600 Black Lives Matter Plaza, right? He's had that space, but I don't know that he's made the most of it. I want to shift gears just 1 second before we wrap up to talk about this case that's been pending for the last couple of weeks and even longer. Federal court, if you saw it, denies Netflix's second motion to dismiss comedian Monique's lawsuit. Monique had cited that Netflix offer of $500,000 paled in comparison to the millions of dollars that they forked out for other comedy specials, including Ellen DeGeneres, Dave Chappelle, Amy Schumer. And the suit alleges mistreatment included a discriminatory lowball offer and ended with a blacklisting act of retaliation. So I'm curious in this case, there's been much conversation about Monique, but when you think about this particular case and what's happening, do you think she has a winning case? The fact that they've dismissed this now twice on behalf of Netflix, or I'm sorry, in opposition to Netflix.
This world is all about what have you done for me lately? And Monique ain't done nothing for me lately. I gotta be honest. So,
but that's not
it's a lost cause.
It's a lost cause. Really is. Well, let me phrase the question, right? So it's not about what has she done lately for people, but is she right in the sense that, no, you can't make me a lowball offer? Is it discrimination that you're offering me pennies on a dollar in comparison to my peers when I deserve more? And of course, they've tried to get this dismissed twice, but the court has said no, that we believe there's some legitimacy to it.
And let me break it down for you. When she's saying my peers, the names that you mentioned, none of those are her peers. She's not in that category. She's not in that class of comedian. And as a former comedian myself, I can say that. That's number one. Because she has an Oscar as an actress, she's believing and thinking that entitles her to more money on the comedic side. It doesn't. She hasn't had a stand-up in over a decade. We don't even know how funny she is. The people who are looking at Netflix now probably don't even know who Monique is as a comedian. So now what's the value that you bring to Netflix as a comedian for people to want to look at your special? You're not $1 million, you're not $2 million, you're not $3 million, you're not Kevin Hart, you're not Amy Schumer, you're not Ellen DeGeneres. These are people who have constant shows, who's constantly on stage, that has a following of people that already know that they're funny right now. We know Monique was funny back when she did Queens of Comedy. Now, what will be different is if they were offering Samore a lot of money versus her, because Samore is more current. She's still touring. We still see her. She's still getting HBO money. Monique is not on that level. We don't know how funny she is. And I'll tell you, Chris Tucker just did a special. He didn't get Kevin Hart money. He didn't get Kevin Hart money. He didn't get Chris Rock money. He got the money that he was able to get. Now, let's remember, he done got Rush Hour money, which is a lot of money. Yeah. More than Kevin Hart was getting for these little movies that he's getting. But as a comedian, he was clear and understanding that money is different. So Monique is just making matters worse for herself. She thinks people are blacklisting her, but she's blacklisting herself with all this foolishness that's going on. All she had to do is take your gig, prove yourself at $500,000, And then now I don't even know what they offer Tiffany Haddish. But Tiffany Haddish is hot right now as a comedian. The movie that she played in, she was a comedian. It was a comedic role. She's doing stand-up as a comedian. Monique needs to prove herself again. And anybody who understands comedy knows it's not like riding a bike. You don't just be out for a decade and then come back and you're funny again. It doesn't happen. You got to get back in the gym. You got to build your comedy muscles back up. You got to get back out there. I mean, look at Dave Chappelle's special when he came back. He was nowhere near as funny. I mean, you got to build up. She needs to get in the gym. And if somebody was willing to give her $500,000 as a workout, she should have took it.
And just for the record, she has since released a special where she introduced a whole host of new comics. Let's round it out because we are wrapping up our time for tonight. Riley, let's get your thought regarding Monique and this particular conversation that's ongoing legal battle.
You know, I had a different stance before Shaina talked, and now I'm a changed woman. I have a totally different. You opened my eyes, Shaina. See, look at that. I can learn things. You opened my eyes, and now I have a different take on it. If I were Monique, what I would do is what Kathy Griffin did. I would produce my own special with my own money, do my own stand-up, and prove that I still have the chops to do what I was born to do. And then wait for the money to come in and put it on wherever you want to put it and get all the money from it, because she could produce a special right now, put it on YouTube and get all the money from it. So
you better preach. You better preach.
That for me, no matter that would show everybody, whether it be Tyler Perry, Oprah, Lee Daniels, all the people that are, Netflix that have, blackballed her or whatever, have wronged her. That would prove to them that I still have what it takes, and basically I get the last laugh. And then watch all the money come back. And guess what? When they come back around, I'm gonna charge you double.
That's right. I'm curious, Tiffany, we're going to give you the final thought on this, because if you take the idea, we also announced the other week, Reed Hastings, who is the founder of Netflix, and his wife have donated, I think, $2 or $3 billion out of their net worth towards key racial equity changes. But yet at the same time, his company is battling this lawsuit with Monique saying, you unfairly discriminated against me in terms of pay as a woman of color. I'm curious what your thought is.
I don't know. I don't know how long Monique can sustain this case. See, Netflix is doing this not necessarily to win, but to see if they can financially beat her out of this. She may end up having to settle just because she can no longer pay attorney fees. So I agree with Riley. I would, whether it's an OnlyFans page or like how Erykah Badu has her concerts and you pay to see her concerts or whatever you do, and then it's 100% hers. She has no overhead. She can do whatever she wants. She no longer she can be free to say whatever she wants. She can poke fun at all the different aspects of her life that have been in the news lately. Her open marriage, her issues with Oprah, her issues with Lee Day, all it. And if she did it correctly, she could actually really profit from that on her own. The hell with Netflix. If Netflix isn't checking for you, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna get.
I don't think you say the hell with a check, but I'm gonna close it out with Dwight.
Ladies, if you know what I mean,
the ladies have shared.
But you didn't get the hell with it because you didn't take it.
No, she didn't. So you're the newcomer to this particular segment. I'm curious. We're gonna give you the final thought in this great debate, and it's spirited. Everybody has a different perspective about Monique. We should say, for the record, she is the first African-American female comedian to have her own show on the Strip in Las Vegas. I'm just saying, food for thought. So Dwight, we're gonna give you the final thought. What's your thought as it relates to Monique and her pending lawsuit with Netflix?
I appreciate her resilience and her energy, but I don't necessarily think that she's deserving of a special that's larger than a salary of $500,000. I just don't. Again, I go back to what have you done for me lately? And who you recognize as your peers are not necessarily your peers.
Wow, that's right there. So, we want to share a closing thought for the week. Don't ever feel entitled to win. Just keep working harder. Surrender to the cards you are dealt. It's from that you surrender that you get your power. Losing can be the best motivator to get you even bigger wins. So never compare yourself to anyone else's projection of who you are. That's a quote from none other than Beyonce Knowles Carter. You caught it, and make sure that you pay attention to her latest episode and her latest show. Shaina, thank you for joining us as always this evening. Tiffany, good to see you. Loving the purple tonight. Riley and natural hair, whatever you have is always flawless. Dwight, thank you for joining us as well. And we want to remind folks, if you're on YouTube, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe so that you can get all the latest episodes and things that we talk about. And as we always say, as always, we thank you for watching and ask that you join us again when next we speak.